Welcome to Complexity Made Simple. My name is Paul Allen, and the subject of today's video newsletter, well, we're going to talk about problem solving in a maintenance environment. So I've had a comment left on a video. Someone very kindly said they enjoyed my videos about problem solving, particularly my DOE videos, and I just wrote back and said many thanks for your kind positive comments. Is there anything particular you'd like me to concentrate on? And you can all do this, by the way. If you leave a message on my videos, I'm happy to cover a subject if you're struggling in a particular area. So when I wrote back and said, do you want a particular video? They said, oh yeah, in maintenance, we seem to be continually solving the same problem. We're constantly firefighting. We don't seem to have time to improve the process. So that was kind of what the comments were. So I'm going to read between the lines. I haven't got any more information than that. I'm going to read between the lines, and I'm just going to put some thoughts down and tell you about problem solving in a maintenance situation. So point one, I'm going to talk about measure. Now the reason I'm going to go measure is because if you think about the Six Sigma process, define, measure, analyze, improve and control, actually I can't define the problem until I measure the problem. So maybe it's MDMAIC, I don't know. But anyway, so we're going to talk about the measure. Now, for people in the maintenance world, what I'm about to say shouldn't be a surprise because this measure is very common. But this measure that I'm about to mention is also very important when the events are rare. So the measure of success in maintenance should be mean time to failure. Okay, mean time to failure. So if you think about it logically, if you're measuring breakdowns, how many breakdowns should you have on any given day? Well, really, you should have 0. Okay, so if you just counted the events, what would the graph look like? Well, it should look something like this, shouldn't it? So most of the time you get 0, and occasionally you get 1 breakdown. Now if you're plotting a graph like that, that's absolutely useless. So when you've got rare events, when the events begin to get rare, less than 1 a day, you must change to mean time to failure. Now what's mean time to failure doing? It isn't measuring the event like that. It measures the gap between events. Now in the world of safety, certainly in the United Kingdom, if you walk into the reception of an engineering company, they will often quote how many days since the last near miss or serious accident. So they've stopped counting the accidents. Once upon a time in the UK, when we had heavy industry, steel, mine working, shipbuilding, that type of thing, back in the 1900s, maybe 1880, that type of time, we would kill people quite regularly. We would have serious accidents quite regularly. So we would plot a graph where we counted the accidents. But now we don't get accidents at all. So to plot the graph where you count the accident would be silly. So what do? You measure the gap, mean time to failure. Now that's a much more discerning measure, okay? But back to maintenance, that assumes that this graph looks like this. If what you're looking at is a graph where every day you're getting a certain amount of breakdowns and you've got this noisy, volatile graph. I'm going to call it noisy. Noisy graph bouncing around. That's a sign that your process is out of control. That's a sign that sounds like what's being described to me. You're fixing the same problem all the while. You never have time to do process improvement because you're firefighting and you'll constantly feel like you're putting the same fire out. Okay, so what we've got to do is drive this graph down till it starts to look like this. Then of course you'd measure the gap and you'd measure mean time to failure. So that's the aim of what we got to try to do. So that's the measure, mean time to failure. Okay, the next thing, and this I can't necessarily answer this for the viewer that's mentioned this to me, but the viewer himself will have to sort it out. Here's the question you have to ask. Don't look at the problem. So here's what I'm going to say. Not individual problems. So if you try and problem solve every individual event, especially in maintenance where you got breakdowns, every event looks like a unique event. So yesterday a bearing collapsed. Today a shaft has jammed. Tomorrow it could be something else. Seals have gone. In a unit. I don't know. I don't know what the equipment would be, what the breakdowns might be. But if you try and problem solve them as individual problems, you are going to get the problem that you've mentioned. So we don't want to do that. How do we want to look at this? Well, the way we want to look at it is like this. We want to ask the question, what process is letting us down? And when you do that, what will happen is you will start to see there are particular processes that keep failing. The failures are different, but they are all symptoms of the fact that we are very bad at, and I'll give you an example. It's the best I can do given my background and experience. Let's say you're not very good at routine lubrication. You don't know what oil to put in there. You don't know how often to put the oil and the grease in the equipment. You haven't even identified all the grease points and lubrication points, etc. So the lubrication process is letting you down. So although the failures could look different, when you look at the problem, you could say, yeah, we didn't lubricate it. Yeah, we didn't lubricate it. We didn't lubricate it. That's the process. The lubrication process is the one that's letting you down. Now you can plot a graph probably that looks like this, and you can make the graph go down. Now it could also be, and I'm going to be very crude here, like I say, maintenance isn't my core skill. They could all be electrical type problems. They could all be mechanical. Depending on what your equipment is, you could subdivide the electrical into, we get a lot of sensor, I call them breakdowns, but problems would also work, wouldn't it? We get a lot of sensor breakdowns. So you're trying to identify which process is letting you down. And then you can focus on the variables. Focus on the variables that are general in that process. And now you're pointing at one of these. And what that means is, if you fix the lubrication process, as an example, you fix every lubrication problem that you've had in the last 4 years, but you're also going to fix every lubrication problem that you're likely to get in the next 4 years. It's one problem-solving event, it's one piece of work, but it could solve 50, 60 breakdowns. That's the way to get under the skin of a maintenance problem. By the way, this is exactly the same for a quality problem. If you keep looking at individual problems on a process, so if you've got a machine and the machine, it overpainted one day, it underpainted one day, it had orange peel on another day, it had burnt paint on another day, it had undercured paint on another day. If you look at those paint problems as individual problems, you're going to do, I just mentioned 5 issues there, you're going to do 5 root causes. And by the way, that's the only type of problem you're going to fix when you do that root cause. It's 5 times the work and you don't get as much out of it. What should you do? You should be looking at the paint process and going, look at all the paint problems. What process is letting us down? Well, it's the paint plant. Okay, let's go work on that as a process. Then we go into cause and effect, inputs and outputs, putting in a real control plan. Now you can look at my other videos to look at how to do that. But that's the key to this. So many people, they do what's known as root cause analysis. You don't want to do root cause analysis. You want to do process analysis. Then when you fix the process, you fix all the problems that are going to come out of that process. And that's how to get yourself some time. You won't be firefighting so much. So you won't be doing so many root cause analyses. Plus, when you've finished one of the root causes, you will have fixed so much more, and that'll buy you more time because you'll have less breakdowns, and with less breakdowns, you'll get more time. Then you go fix another process and you'll get so much less breakdowns and you'll buy yourself more time. And then what you'll do then is when you get a new piece of machinery, you'll plan the maintenance system so much better. And now you've got this positive upward spiral of less and less breakdowns. So, problem solving in the maintenance department. Find the process that's letting you down. Now that's going to need your skill. I'm not very good at giving you examples. I'm not sure these work too well, but you will know. You will know you've got processes behind your maintenance systems, and you will use your skill to be able to do this. And when you do this really well, you'll drive this rare graph like this. You can start measuring the gap because you can get your processes to be so much more reliable and you can make more money. Maintenance problem solving. Look for the process that's letting you down.